The Camino Frances, or as the name suggests, the French way, is by far the most popular of the ancient pilgrim routes to Santiago de la Compostela, that magnificent cathedral city located in the northwest corner of Spain. Historically, this journey of almost 800 kilometers starts from the French side of the Pyrenees and navigates through the major cities of Pamplona, famous for the running of the Bulls Festival, Logrono, voted Gastronomic City of Spain in 2012, and the splendid cathedral cities of Burgos and Leon. While there is no set route to walk the Camino Frances, a common itinerary is to break the pilgrimage into 33 stages, or as they say in Spanish, etapas. And this, coincidentally, is the number of years Jesus spent on this earth. There are some steep climbs to overcome, including the first day over the Pyrenees. But overall, the countryside is fairly flat, and the conditions ideal for walking. The most popular starting point of the Camino Frances is from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, a delightful little French town at the base of the Pyrenees. The L'Esprit du Chemin is located on the Rue de la Citadelle, and this welcoming albergue is open between the months of April and September. But make sure you book well in advance, because it's a very popular first night stay for the eager walkers. This pretty cobblestone street also houses the Pilgrim's Office, which is where you can obtain your credencial, or passport-like document that will give you access to all the albergues along the route. From the Pilgrim's Office, we turn down the Rue de la Citadelle and cross the River Nive on our way out of town and to the start of our Camino.
In 2025, 242,000 pilgrims gained to Compostela from this route, Compostela from Santiago, and almost 200,000 of these journeyed along the Camino Frances. And this route is becoming more and more popular every year.
It's very important to choose the best route over the mountain pass in the morning. If the weather forecast is poor, it's advisable to take the safer option and go around the mountain. But if you're confident of a clear day, then you will be rewarded with some spectacular views when you're up high on the Pyrenees. Although the actual distance to Roncesvalles is just over 25 kilometers, the average walker will take between 7 and 10 hours to comfortably complete this first day's trek. So make sure you pack enough supplies the night before to last the distance. This can be a strenuous climb, so be prepared for some heart-racing stretches and allow for plenty of time to complete your first day's hike. And with the early morning mist behind us, we have some glimpses of a wonderful sunny mountain panorama. After much of the day's hardest climb has been completed, you'll be pleasantly surprised to reach a fountain where you can replenish your water supplies. And this means you've now crossed the border into Spain. The large stone waymark by the side of the path gives us a reminder of just how far we still have to travel to reach our final destination. If you're coming off the high route, take particular care when you come down from the mountain pass, as the track is very steep and treacherous, especially for leg-weary pilgrims. After a first day's hard walking, there's no better sight than coming off the path and seeing before you the imposing monastery at Frances2012, which means the end of your first stage of this Camino. Frances2012 is a popular start point for many Spanish peregrinos, and in 2011 almost 10,000 pilgrims started their journey from here. There are a number of restaurants here to cater for the first day's evening meal. This is one of the earliest and most sacred refuges of the entire Camino. This is your resting place for the night. The monastery is capable of sleeping 400 pilgrims in well-organized and comfortable accommodation. After a tiring day on the Camino, most will be looking forward to a sound sleep. But be warned, your night might well sound a bit like this. Some sound advice to anyone considering doing this pilgrimage is to pack some earplugs. Maybe several pairs might be necessary. The nights could well be filled with any number of strange and irritating noises, which might well be referred to as a snorchestra, a mix of sound produced by any number of heavyweight snorers, both males and females alike. Most albergues will allow you to stay until 8:30 in the mornings, but the reality is most walkers are up and out on the trail well before then. The walk from Frances2012 to Logrono is over 27 kilometers long and passes through a number of pretty villages, so cake and coffee are a must for that first day's stop. This undulating trek can also be quite difficult, especially after that first day's climb over the Pyrenees. On the outskirts of Logrono, which is our next stop, there is a medieval bridge that leads us into this quiet pueblo with its whitewashed stone houses and narrow streets, and the sight of the albergue means a rest and the prospect of a welcome shower. Invariably, when you're sharing this unique experience with so many other walkers from all over the globe, you will make great friends and more than likely spend days together on the trail and in the albergues that you stay at in the various towns and cities. It's not unusual to meet these like-minded pilgrims at the start of your Camino, and these wonderful friendships will last to Santiago, Compostela and beyond. On our way to Pamplona, we crisscrossed the river Aga on a gentle walk into the city suburbs. Pamplona is the capital of the Navara region and the first major city that we navigate through. It's famous for its festival, with the running of the bulls, which takes place in early July. The city's historic centre and myriad of medieval streets are delightful, and the cafes and bars are full of mouth-watering tapa and treats. This lively university metropolis is well worth a night's stay. menu del dia in Spanish translates to the meal of the day. This will become a very common sight for all pilgrims as they look for their evening meal. Most restaurants, bars and cafes will offer up this menu, which typically includes a primero or a starter dish, usually pasta, salad or a soup, then a segundo or a main meal, which could be meat or fish, and lastly a postre or dessert, which could be an ice cream or flan. The majority of offerings will also include some pan or bread, and usually some wine or water. The average price of these menu del dias is around €10, which to the pilgrim represents great value. Although Pamplona is not one of our recognised stops, after 2 hard days of walking, a pilgrim might well like to stay in the comparative luxury of one of the city's many pensions or hostels. The waymarks leading out of the city are few and far between, so some caution needs to be taken when exiting Pamplona's outskirts, especially in the early morning hours. The walk to Puente la Reina takes us into the hills, and nestled amongst the giant wind turbines is the Hill of Forgiveness, or in Spanish, the Alto del Perdón, which is famous for its wrought iron effigies of modern and medieval day pilgrims. From here, the views to the west as we overlook the Arga Valley are simply breathtaking and reveal the path the pilgrim will be following over the coming days. The descent downhill is extremely treacherous with the loose stones and pebbles, so great care is needed. Puente la Reina is stage 4 of our Camino Frances, and the distance from Pamplona is just over 24 kilometers. As the name suggests, this village is well known for its magnificent Romanesque bridge, which spans the Arga River. And this was built solely to give the early pilgrims a means of joining the Camino. Most pilgrims or peregrinos will complete their day's journey when they arrive at an albergue, which is the Spanish equivalent of a hostel. A pilgrim's passport or credencial allows a pilgrim only 1 night's stay in an albergue. So if he or she decide to stay a bit longer in a town or a city, then alternative accommodation such as a pension or a hostel will need to be found. The albergue will usually provide bunk beds for accommodation in a dormitory-style setup and include basic overnight facilities such as showers and toilets. Most will also have a kitchen, cooking facilities and a fridge. The bedding is available on a first-come, first-served basis. Since you'll be travelling light with only minimal clothing, laundry is extremely important. On the Camino, washing is typically done by hand, although some of the more modern albergues will have washing machines and dryers. The walk to Estella is mostly via natural pathways, through gently rolling farmland and tall ripening vineyards. And remember to bring a hat. These sections of the trail offer little shade. We pass through the amazing and picturesque medieval village of Serauqui, standing on a hilltop in beautiful Basque Spain. And on the Camino Frances, biclistas or cyclists will also share the path with walkers as they make their way to Santiago, Compostela. Estella is quite a large pueblo, and has numerous albergues and hostels, so your accommodation should not be a problem here. And if you time it right, you could well end up taking part in one of the wonderful Spanish festivals that are so important to each separate village. Blisters are a huge problem on the Camino, and their impact on your journey should never be underestimated. They are usually caused by inappropriate footwear, either your walking boots, which can be too tight, or your socks, which don't allow the wicking of moisture from sweaty feet. Light Gore-Tex socks are best for hot days in the sun. And if you get a hot spot and you feel a blister coming, then it's very important to attend to it straight away. From its start, at the other side of the Pyrenees in France, the Camino Frances traverses the picturesque rolling Basque countryside of the Navara region. This region is arguably one of the prettiest in all of Spain, with its lush green pastures and lightly rolling plains, making it an unforgettable walking experience. The sleepy town of Los Arcos, with its Roman origins, is the 6th stage of our Camino, and it is 22 kilometers from Estella. Many albergues on the Camino will provide bunk beds for sleeping, mostly in shared rooms or dormitories. Some of the larger rooms will accommodate up to 80 pilgrims. When you share facilities with so many travellers, you must be prepared for the early morning rush to get on the road and head to the next stage of your journey. These will be familiar sounds to all pilgrims by the time they reach Santiago. Unless you're a heavy sleeper, it's going to be difficult to stay asleep in the mornings. The early morning sunrise will more than compensate the inconvenience of an early start to your day. On the way from Los Arcos to Logrono, we walk along more tumbling hills and fertile valleys, amongst fields of bright red poppies.
The guy in the shower beside me, he looks like he goes, "For real?" I said, "I've seen the picture. You do whatever you want."
This stage is a taxing 29 kilometers with some steep climbs, so make sure that water bottle is filled up whenever possible. Just over the border of the Navara region lies the bustling city of Logrono, the capital of the La Rioja region, famous for its world-class wines. This lively university city is a mixture of the old and the new, and renowned for its tapa, or Spanish finger food. In fact, the city was named the gastronomic capital of Spain in 2012. And there's no better feeling than removing one's boots after a long day's hiking. The distance from Logrono, which is step 7 of our Camino, to Santiago, is now 625 kilometers. From Logrono, the trail winds its way along dirt paths, through more vineyards, set amongst dry red clay soil for as far as the eye can see. The wide country paths offer no shade to the midday sun. Navara is stage 8 of our Camino, and we still have over 600 kilometers to walk to Santiago. There are some long walking stretches on these steps, and at times they can seem never-ending. Quite often on this pilgrimage, you'll be walking alongside the road on a track that is running parallel. These are called sendas and have been specifically designed for the peregrino to walk on, as a safer alternative to the tarmac road. From Santo Domingo to Belorado, we enter into Castile and Leon, the largest autonomous region of the Iberian Peninsula, with its endless horizons filled with fields of wheat and oats. The tiny village of San Juan de Ortega, with a population of just 30 people, boasts some ancient buildings and Spartan surroundings, and this has become a classic stay for modern-day pilgrims. The trail takes us through pine forests and home oak.
I think that would be really awkward.
Until we reach the high point of the pass, the Ponte de Vista, where we see our first glimpse of Burgos in the distance. Burgos is an elegant city with leafy promenades and traffic-free plazas and a very well-preserved town centre. The Puente de Santa Maria is an impressive 16th century structure that in times gone by was the door that marked the entry into the city. The city has a Castilian ambience to it, and the most famous attraction in Burgos is, of course, its cathedral. Built in the 13th century, the Cathedral Santa Maria is considered one of the most beautiful of its kind in the world. While its style is essentially Gothic, the cathedral has over the years been embellished by any number of master builders and architects to make it a truly magnificent structure. And if it looks impressive from the outside, there are even greater treasures and artifacts waiting within. Burgos is a city that deserves an extra day's stay. The walk out of the city through the suburbs is long, and as with some of the earlier cities, the waymarking can be difficult to follow. The most valuable piece of advice anyone will give you when it comes to walking a Camino is to travel light. So many first-time walkers will ignore these wise words and end up either discarding items from their backpacks or visiting the first available post office to send a package of useful but not critical things back home. The recommended weight of your backpack should be no more than 10% of your body weight. So for a 70 kilo person, no more than about 7 kilos in total. Otherwise, it's going to get difficult on the trail. The following list, while not including everything, will be the basis of what you'll need to carry on your journey. And the word lightweight appears several times. Remember, every extra kilogram in your pack will feel like 10 kilograms after a 20+ kilometer walk. From Burgos, which is the 12th stage of our Camino, we now have just over 500 kilometers to travel to Santiago de Compostela. The Camino Frances is often described as being 3 separate and unique journeys. The gentle rolling hills of the pretty Basque countryside is considered more of a physical experience, while the hot, flat, sparse section of the Meseta, with its mind-numbing treks through endless fields of wheat and barley, is more a mental challenge. The beautiful and mystical green hills of Galicia is seen as a spiritual journey on the way to Santiago. The 13th stage of our Camino takes us to Hornillas and marks the entry onto the Meseta, a central plateau in Spain that accounts for over 40% of the country's landmass. This dead flat area differs from the rolling hills of the previous regions. The Meseta has its own identity, never-ending fields of cereal and villages that are few and far between. From Hontanos, we pass by the Gothic convent of San Anton on our way to Castrejeriz. The impressive castle atop the sleepy pueblo of Castrejeriz is a great sight in the early morning sunlight, and this village seems to take forever to finally arrive at. The climb over the Alto Mosteleres gives us some great views of the roads ahead. Stage 15 from Castro Jerez to Framista is just over 25 kilometers long. In Framista, the 11th century Iglesia San Martia is considered one of the finest examples of Romanesque architecture in all of Spain. The 16th stage or etapa of our Camino takes us to Carrion de la Condés, a 21-kilometer walk to yet another typical, neat Spanish pueblo on the Meseta. The impressive town of Sahagún is a popular stopover for many pilgrims, and the town is rich in culture with many monasteries and churches. The walk to Mansilla is an easy 25 kilometers, mostly on flat pathways. And in the town of Mansilla, we come across some statues of modern-day pilgrims, looking weary and fatigued and resting by a fountain. This nice town has many great places to stay overnight. The 20th stage of our Camino is to the large city of León, and this is another energetic university city. The trail into the city is long and mostly on tarmac. León is located at the foot of the Cantabrian Mountains and is considered the gateway from Old Castile to Galicia, and as such a very important step on the Camino Frances. The old city has as its showcase the magnificent 12th century Gothic cathedral, famous for its large amount of stained glass windows, the majority of which are original and date back from the 13th to the 15th century. These are considered to be among the finest examples of stained glass in the world. And León is another great city that deserves more time to explore. you're leaving Lyon in the early morning hours and relying on street lamps, once again, be very careful with the waymarks. We have walked for more than 470 kilometers to reach Lyon, and now we have 320 kilometers left until we arrive in Santiago. And soon enough the landscape changes to the familiar sight of red poppies in endless fields of wheat as the trail moves ahead to Villa de Mazarif. Villa de Mazarif is the 21st stage of our Camino. And from here until our journey's end, it's now under 300 kilometers. There will be times when carrying your backpack between stages might not be possible. Any number of reasons might mean you may need the use of a luggage transport company. Walkers can suffer from blisters, strains, plane fatigue, and sometimes even mental exhaustion at the thought of another long day's hiking on the trail. The Francais has become so busy in recent times that a number of baggage transport companies have taken advantage of the huge number of daily backpackers and so provide this much needed carrier service. Two such companies that will cover the whole length of the trail from Roncesvalles to Santiago are Taxi Belorado and Jacotrans. While these are the two major bag carriers, there's also numerous other operators that will transport your baggage between the various large cities on the Camino Frances. The bridge that crosses the Rio Orbigo is one of the longest and best preserved medieval bridges in all of Spain and leads us into a charming little pueblo, the town of Hospital de Orbigo. With the Meseta well and truly behind us, we can enjoy some more scenic trail as we move forward. On the Camino, Astorga has always been an important town for pilgrims, as a resting place before the grueling trek west into the mountains. Set above a steep ridge, Astorga has a lot to offer in terms of culture. Packed within its medieval walls are the impressive Cathedral de Santa Marta and, of course, Guido's Bishop's Castle. And from the edge of Astorga, we have views of the imposing Montes de Leon and some idea of our westward journey ahead. The walk to Molina Seca is the 24th stage of our Camino and takes us over the mountain pass of Arago, and this marks the highest point of our journey so far. The tiny, half-abandoned village of Fonsabaden exists solely for the peregrinos who want to put the long, hard climb behind them on their day's walk and sleep in one of the 3 albergues that awaits them. A few kilometres past Fonsabaden lies the Iron Cross, or the Cruz de Ferro, an important symbol of the Camino Frances, which honours the pilgrim's humble attempt to walk to Santiago. The custom is for the pilgrim to place a stone or similar token that he or she has brought along from the start of their journey and place it on the impressive mound at the foot of the cross. This symbolises the release of one of their life's burdens. The spectacular views from up high on the mountain convey the spirit and the beauty of the Camino. There are 2 very steep descents to Acebo and Molina Seca, so walkers need to be extremely cautious on the slippery rocks underfoot. The smoke from the industrial centre of Ponferrada, a busy metropolis, can be seen in the distance. Ponferrada has a number of museums and churches, and a most impressive, almost intact Templar castle. Pilgrims who bypass the larger town of Ponferrada may travel on to Villafranca de Bierzo, a charming little pueblo set in the side of the hills. The walk into this village is stunning, through undulating hills with fields of bright green vineyards all about us. Villafranca is stage 25 of our Camino. The trail westward from Villafranca to Osobrero takes us away from Castile and Leon and brings us closer to the region of Galicia. The climb to the village is demanding and passes through woods of pine and chestnut. But for those who do decide to take this steep route, the reward is more stunning views along the Valcarce Valley. The delightful village of Osobrero is considered the gateway into Galicia and is most famous for the miracle of the Holy Grail, which is venerated in the ancient church of Santa Maria. The mountains of Galicia take the initial brunt of the westerly winds coming directly across from the Atlantic Ocean. So from now on, cooler weather and frequent rain will accompany the pilgrim in this their last phase of the Camino. No matter which season you intend to walk your Camino in Spain, when you do arrive in Galicia, you can almost certainly guarantee it will rain. The modern town of Sevilla is stage 28 of our Camino, and now we are just over 100 kilometers from our final destination of Santiago de Compostela.
Sevilla is the most popular starting point of any of the Spanish Caminos, and in 2019, a staggering 28%, or 96,000 pilgrims, joined the way in this town.
In order to gain a Compostela, which is your proof that you completed a pilgrimage, a person needs to start their journey from at least 100 kilometers from Santiago. This, of course, makes Sevilla an ideal starting point for people who are time poor. Our walk from Sevilla is on quiet roads and country pathways. As we approach the large bridge that spans the River Minho, we see the castle-like church of San Juan dominating the landscape ahead. Porto Marin is a popular stage of the Francais, with its variety of bars, restaurants and cafes. Porto Marin is the 29th stage of our Camino. At Palas del Rey, we are joined by other pilgrims who have walked the Camino Primitivo, which starts in Oviedo. The number of travellers now walking or cycling has grown considerably over the last few stages. Yeah. The 31st stage of our Camino is a 26k trek to the town of Azrua, and along the way we stay close to the N547. But thankfully, the woodland and the natural pathways give us some shelter from this busy road. We cross a number of small rivers before we arrive at the large town of Melide, which is famous for its pulpo, or octopus. This town will be an ideal stopover on this your second last night on the trail. On the way to Arco Pino, we walk under the shade of forests filled with eucalyptus trees as we climb around the Alto Santa Irene. From Arco, we have barely 20 kilometers to go before we reach Santiago Compostela. By now, some pilgrims who have traveled for many days will be feeling some sadness that their Camino is nearly at an end.
Buen camino.
The walk into Santiago starts under a canopy of tall trees, and the site of the airport marks the end of the natural pathways. Soon we're on footpaths as we reach the city suburbs. The cathedral itself is situated in the heart of the old city. While our Camino is at an end, there are still some things that need attending to. Firstly, a visit to the pilgrim's office to obtain our Compostela, which is the written proof that we have completed this amazing journey. And next, a visit to the cathedral itself and the resting place of St. James. There will be a 12 p.m. pilgrim's mass every day to bless the worthy traveller's efforts, and the more fortunate pilgrims may witness the swinging bote fumeiro. The word bote fumeiro means smoke expeller, and in this cathedral, this incense burner was made by the gold and silversmith Jose Lozada in 1851. This 80 kilogram and 1.6 meter long censer is suspended by a pulley in the dome of the roof and is usually only on display during the more important religious ceremonies. The bote fumeiro is then filled with about 40 kilograms of incense and charcoal and swung at speeds of up to 70 kilometers an hour as it reaches its maximum height of 21 meters before slowly coming back to Earth after almost 20 cycles. It's well worth a visit to the Pilgrim's Mass to capture this incredible sight. While the Pilgrim's Mass might be considered the traditional end of your Camino, a nighttime walk through the giant Piazza del Obradoiro with the glowing cathedral in the background might well give you cause to reflect on this truly amazing journey across Spain and the unique experience that has taken place in your life.
Yeah, there are just moments in your life when you think,
beach is nice. I did that various times, but it's not giving you anything. You come back, you have a nice color, you feel great, and after 3 days, it's gone. You don't have memories, you didn't meet people. So why did I start this year? There was something missing. So I think this is a year again when I can do a Camino. So why did I do the Camino? Go to it, you have a great time, you have a great journey, nature is beautiful, and I promise everybody meets special people on this way, and it's an unbelievable, very, very intensive experience.